Perfect, perfect, perfect,
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode. This week I'm joined by a very special guest. He's my friend Vuyisile V. He's an LLB and a BA Law graduate and is currently working for one of the top firms in Sandton. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to choose a varsity, before varsity, during varsity, after graduating, we're going to talk a little bit more about that life, and what is some of the thinking that you should be having, before varsity. I mean, it could be a lifetime choice you're making, should you become a lawyer, an engineer, and what are some of the thinking, what should you take into consideration? So I like V. V is a cool guy. He inspires me, and I think he's done well for himself. So I wanted to bring him in and to share his pearls of wisdom. So yeah, V, I'm glad to have you today.
Well, thanks, man.
Are you good?
I'm good. I'm excited. I also follow you closely, and I think you do great work. And I hope you guys actually get to take something out of this for those of you who are watching. So yeah, let's get into it.
That's cool, man. V, like I said, I feel like you've done well for yourself. I just want us to talk before varsity. That is in high school. Grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. When you were still deciding what career you should take. Why law? Why you could have taken any other career. And how did you decide on the university? Why UP? You could have gone anywhere else. So take us through some of the thinking behind that process. In high school.
So yeah, I don't know if I'm the best role model based on my my high school decision making. So before, I didn't even choose law first time. I actually chose marketing.
Okay.
Because I saw a marketing director driving a Jaguar. And I'm like, okay, this is how you get money.
Yeah.
But generally, I think how most good decisions are made is you consult. You talk to people who you trust, people who can help get you in the rooms and spaces with people that might show you direction. So I job shadowed.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Grade 11, we had an opportunity. If your school or platform does, you should take it. I job shadowed a few lawyers, and I was like, man, this is it.
This is it.
this is the one for me.
Yeah.
And how I chose UP, to be honest, at the time I didn't know anything of the rankings. Which is something I would encourage people to look at now. But before, it was really just a feeling. I felt most at home and comfortable at UP. My application process was very, very streamlined and simple. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And then that's when you start seeing flames.
We're gonna get into that now. But deciding on which university to go to and which career is one thing. How do you put yourself in a positive frame of mind to work towards something? Because I'm assuming it doesn't come naturally. You need to devote yourself in high school and work hard. And also the funding aspect. NSFAS was not so popular back then, but how do you think about that? How do you present that case to your parents? How do you think about all those things and taking them into consideration?
Yeah, no, those are important questions, and those are things that I never thought of because I grew up pretty well, and right before varsity, all funds were cut off. And now we had to think and make a way and think of a plan of getting funding. And it's something that you don't often consider because you think if my parents are good now, they'll be good forever. But that's not always the case. But generally, a lot of people are very willing to fund dedicated learners. They're very, very willing to fund learners who have some sort of a direction of what they want to do. I know it's easier with people who do accounting because they literally come and they scoop you up in high school. But now the platform has shifted. So there are more GoFundMe type platforms. I know Standard Bank has one, and it's helped a number of learners. So that's something that you also tend to keep at the front of your mind. But moreover, the type of mentality that you want is, what do I want most out of my life?
Yeah.
And you compare that to what you want now.
Yeah.
And if what you want now doesn't match up with what you want most, then it's an easy decision. You sacrifice the things for now. So sometimes you don't always get to go out with your friends. Sometimes you pinch a little bit financially.
Yeah.
But if you know what you want at the end of this journey is so fulfilling, then sacrifice it's a natural element.
Yeah.
There's no replacement for hard work and sacrifice.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good, man. So let's fast forward now to first year, the interesting year. Varsity. People think about getting into varsity, but they often don't think about what happens in between. I know for one, personally, I come from a small town. So coming into the big city, you're a Joburg kid, you wouldn't understand. But coming from Mpumalanga, a place like that, and coming to Pretoria, it's a big city. Not compared to Joburg, but it can be quite overwhelming. I know in my first year I struggled a bit. Although I did well academically, but in the first year I failed a few tests and I was really overwhelmed. So how was your first year like, for someone who's just got to varsity, and what do you think are some of the things you can say to them to avoid or to do more of and do less more? Or what can you say to that person?
Well, your first year, guys. One thing I can say about first year, it's confusing, it's overwhelming, and you go from being a kid to a semi-adult like in 60 seconds flat. No one's gonna call you up and say, where's this assignment?
Yeah.
No one's gonna tell you anything. Everything is in your hands, and it's
real.
It's real. We've all been there. I also failed a few tests in my life. Am I dumb or what's going on?
Well, while on that, one of the things I noticed about myself, and a friend of mine actually highlighted this, is that, okay, so we were doing calculus and physics, right? And we had failed this semester test. It was the first time experiencing failure, right? And he said to me, you know what, Nick, the worst thing about failing a semester test, it brings out all the small insecurities you thought you had covered, right? So all of a sudden you're starting to feel insecure about yourself. You don't have confidence, even if you know that you're better than that, So yeah, man, failing was not nice.
Yeah. I mean, look, for me, when I reflect on varsity, it's really not so much about the academic performance. Others might want to make it about that, but really, varsity is where you develop yourself, and more than that, you confront yourself. I also had to now challenge the old little demons that used to creep in. It is the insecurity of whether you're competent. It's other insecurities of also the fact that I'm facing life challenges, and I must balance that with being an academic performer. And that is an incredibly vital place to be going through. Varsity it gives you the safety net of figuring things out, because most of us are, and it actually reminds me of what Will Smith said. He said, in your journey to success and attaining success, you have to fail. It's essential. If you're not failing, you won't be successful.
Yeah.
And he said, but it's how you fail now. And he mentioned 3 critical components to failing. He said, when you fail, you must fail early.
Yeah, definitely.
It's important. So in that formative years of varsity, especially first year, it's okay. It's the right time to be failing, and you should fail often.
Yeah.
Which is
we don't want that.
You don't want that. You're like, hey, I took the first L. I'm enough. But you gotta fail early. You have to fail often, because learning is repetition.
Yeah.
Growth is repetition. But the third element is that you gotta fail forward. So that's fundamental. You're gonna catch many L's. Whoever's listening now, just know varsity gonna catch L's.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna
happen. It doesn't even matter if you're rich or poor or whatever. Yeah. You're gonna catch L's. But it's how you take them. It's really, you gotta know that, okay, I failed, but failing is part of my journey. But am I failing forward? It's okay to fail as long as I'm not failing twice at the same thing. you know. So
V, okay, we've talked about failure. How do we move past failure? You know, how do we encourage someone who says, you know, I have failed a module, right? Now my parents are putting pressure on me, you know, I need to make this work, otherwise they're gonna cut off my funding, you know. How do you move past that? How do you cope with the stress? Like you mentioned, it's not only academics, you know, it's life, you know. How do you move past that? How do you deal with all of that pressure that goes on?
Sure. This is an important question because even now I find myself in that predicament. I'll say one thing which is essential, and it doesn't even sound like advice, but it is. Keep it moving. Just keep it moving, dude.
That's true. That's
because
so true.
you stumble into place.
Yeah.
You don't. There's no sage wisdom that maps out your journey. You take tidbits from here. You tell me to work hard. Another one will tell me to, hey, pause, smell the roses.
Yeah.
You know. But you never really have the discernment of knowing when applies where.
Yeah.
But if you're just staying in it, just keep the ball rolling, dude. If your parents are giving you pressure, it's okay. You can have your 5 minutes to breathe and relax, but whatever you do, my guy, whatever you do, keep it moving. It's so essential because really things do work out, and I credit all my success to the fact that I believe in a higher power.
Yeah.
And that has always been the source of my peace. Holding on to peace, preserving peace, but keeping the ball rolling has always gotten me to every pedestal and platform that I've attained.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool, V. That's good advice. I think you gotta keep it going. Just a side note, guys. V has his own blog. I'll drop the link in the video, so make sure to follow him to get some more pearls of wisdom.
Yeah.
I listen to his podcast. Really interesting conversations to have. But okay, so we're in varsity now. We've moved forward. You know, we're starting to get our feet. Let's talk about post varsity. You know, like. You know, it's one thing to go to varsity, you get your degree, you're excited, you know, you get an LLB, you know, now reality hits you. And the past few years, you know, the economy hasn't been doing well, there's no jobs. How do you deal with that? How was, you know, if you don't mind sharing your experience, you know, from varsity and transitioning and getting into a job, how is it like? You know?
Sure, Nick. If I could tell you something, I was applying for jobs since my third year of a 5-year program. I was applying. I think I applied to well over 100 law firms.
Sure.
And they rejected me each and every single time. Guys, I've heard all the niceties around rejection in every way that it comes. We regret to inform you. Unfortunately, if you're looking for this 2031, maybe we can take you. So, you know, I thought that just by merely applying early, it gives me a good standing. No, I graduated, I got home with all my luggage, and I was there sitting, trying to make sense of what on earth is going on. But I must say, the depression of that unemployed space is real. It's no one can ignore that. If there is one thing that you can do that helped me is to wait busily.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
So
what do you mean?
It means that you're waiting for employment to be secured, but you're throwing your net out as wide as possible, day after day. Even on the days you're not hearing anything from anyone. I was updating my CV. I was reading up on potential routes to get to where I needed to go. So it's not about compromising, but I was re-strategizing. I remember I even went to apply at for a sales position at a beverage company. I was looking at doing tutoring. I was looking at any other alternative means to get there, just as long as I'm not idle. Really,
that's good advice.
My
so
man,
you mustn't just sit.
No, wait busily. So it means have the anticipation that you will get what you want, But in the meantime, the time between now and then, keep your hands busy at something positive, something that leads you there, and then you stumble into it.
Yeah.
I swear to you, you always do.
Oh, that's great, man. That's really good advice. I can relate to that as well. You know, when I graduated, it wasn't all roses. You know, there wasn't people were ready to welcome you and say, come, Nick. You know, he has a job for you. He has a car. It's not like that.
What got you through that phase?
Yeah, it was really challenging for me. I think one of the most difficult things is to go to a place like Pretoria, study, and then come back home in Mpumalanga, you know, and you have to live with your parents again, you know. It's a whole different ball game, you know. And I know a lot of young people are in that position right now, you know. So you started, you have your degree, and now you have to go back home and live with your parents, you know. Your neighbors are asking you, you know, hey, you have a degree, you know, what's going on? Why isn't your son working, you know? You know, you know what I mean? So it's really challenging, you know, the social pressure that is there as well, you know. So I think it wasn't easy for me, you know. It wasn't easy for me. Like you said, I think you've already taken all the points, you know. Stay busy, do something, you know. And for me, what I found really helpful is that while I was at varsity, I was engaged in other activities, social clubs, participating in house events, leadership, and community projects. So I had already built up a good portfolio of describing my value to companies. So when I came to companies and said, this is Nick, you know, I could show something and saying, this is what I've done, this is what I can do, do you want to take a chance on me, you know? So I feel like it's very critical, even when you're at home, you know, and saying, like you're saying, you know, applying for that sales job, you know, just have something, because having a degree is not good enough, especially in this economy, you know, it's not good enough. And if you can take an internship, also take it, you know. It's not beneath your dignity to go and work at a sales shop or a retail chain. It's not below your dignity, you know. As a young person, you must just get into the habit of working hard and seeing things as opportunities, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, V, going back to you, because you're the one sharing the pearls of wisdom. I want us to talk about some of the things that young people think a job is like, and what the job is actually really about. You know? There might be people studying law right now, or who are looking for an LLB job. Let's go actually talk about the interview process. You know, what are companies looking for in a graduate? Let's start there. What are companies looking for in a graduate, in your opinion?
You know, one thing that they always repeated to us is that they want someone who's well-rounded, and it's very hard to make sense of that when you're a student and you're like, what on earth does that mean? But they wanna see how diverse you are as a human being based on where you commit yourself to. So, for instance, all the while I was getting rejected in varsity, I was also, I was a musical guy. I was in choir. I was also part of a student-run NGO.
Oh boy, you went to the States. Oh man, that was dope, man. That was dope.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that already helped to show that I'm not just another graduate. Because when you have the degree, like, you're all competent and you're all learning anyway.
Yes.
So they want to know more about you from the things that you do.
Yeah. V, I want us to talk now about, you know, your first job. You've already alluded that what companies are looking for. And you touched on the NGO, and I think that is important, so I want us to give it a few minutes and talk to me about that, you know, and why was it important for you to be part of that organization? It wasn't your ultimate destiny, but it was along the way, and you felt it was important for you to be part of that. So do you think that influences your career going forward? And if it did play a role, can you just talk a little bit more about that?
So, in the NGO that I was in, I was working on the right to education and accessing education for learners, not just in individual schools, but across the country.
Yeah.
It was important because you're not here on your own, I don't want to say by your own merits, but you're here because of the sacrifice of many people before you. And your privilege the mere fact of being educated is a privilege, but your privilege makes you all the more accountable. So I think it was important. I didn't understand the importance at the time. I thought it was cute to be giving back until I realized that it's essential to give back.
Yeah.
And not only to give back, but to build looking forward.
Yeah.
So part of the NGO work shaped how I view my own success moving forward. I'm always accountable to the people that haven't been awarded this opportunity, and I'm intentional that whatever things that I do must seek to empower more than do harm. So I think in a nutshell that's what it did for me as a person. Yeah.
That's cool, man. So I just want us to wrap it up now. What advice would you give to graduates who are currently looking for a job, who are in a position where they're thinking maybe doing education is not worth it? Because there's talks to say, is a degree really worth it? When we see people without a matric that are doing so well, is there value in your degree? And what should you be doing in 2020 to really to position yourself in a good position to jumpstart your career?
I think I just want to bust one myth. There's a myth that we gotta get out there, is that your degree alone isn't what brings value. You bring value to your degree. So what I'm encouraging you is that you really need to look at what are my interests, and that's only you can answer for yourself. What are my interests? What are the things that I find myself doing that I enjoy, and I don't even overthink when I'm doing it? It doesn't feel like work. While you're looking for work in the line of your degree, look for opportunities in that space as well.
Yeah.
If you're into writing, look for blogs, share your story, be vulnerable, be open.
Yeah.
If you like music, there are many platforms for you to make music or produce music. But what I'm saying is that your personality is what will give your degree meaning. And by the time you get to that interview process and program, they'll be like, wow, okay, we see that you like 1, 2, and 3 because you were involved in 1, 2, and 3, all while you were waiting. So I think, guys, wait busily, do what I did. Wait busily, keep your hands active, and I promise you will stumble into place.
That's cool. Guys, that's it for this episode. V, it was a pleasure having you, my brother.
That's my bad.
Hopefully I'll steal you for more interviews and more shows we're still going to do together. Don't forget to follow him. What's your Twitter handle again?
So my podcast is called Talk to Vui. I have a Facebook page called Talk to Vui.
Yeah.
I'm still not on Twitter. The Twitter streets are lit. But it's available everywhere. What's this? Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Castbox, you name it. It's called Talk to Vui. Look out for it.
All right, cool, guys.
Perfect.